Well, good morning, Wareham. We have a great show here for you, and it is Wednesday, June 26th. Fantastic show here for you, the news headlines, the weather report, and today in history. This morning, Sally Morrison is in the studio to talk about Unleash the Possibilities, celebrating the people and pet bond. Also, Bob Politis joins us to talk about Friends of the Wareham Veterans Council. But first, I would like to take this moment to thank Not Your Average Antiques, an antique shop down Cranberry Highway in East Wareham, for donating the props that you see in the morning show. So stay tuned because the weather and the news headlines are next. Cloudy skies this morning will become partly cloudy this afternoon with high at 77 degrees. Some clouds tonight with low near 60 degrees. Tomorrow a mix of sunshine and clouds, high at 78 and low at 61. And now to the news. There were a few news stories over the week, and here are the news headlines. Wareham Week newspaper had the following stories. Used car dealership coming to town. The Wareham Board of Selectmen unanimously approved a Class 2 license for Gateway Motors of Wareham. The dealership will be located at 381 Main Street with the permission to display 37 cars. The business owners do not have an opening date set yet, but are suggesting that the Gateway Motors will open its doors by the end of this year. And the Wareham's Historical Society hosted a presentation on Monday night by John Wright about the history of Wareham in England. Wright, a visitor from Wareham, the market town in Dorset, England, was here to discuss a bit about the interesting connection. And here's a quick video.
The history of Wareham in England started with the Romans in around about 300, 400 AD, and then went on to the Vikings and the Anglo-Saxons, and so it goes on and on and on from there. And here we are in 2000, and Wareham in the UK is still going. The similarities are that it's near the sea, it has a port, it has a railway. But the populations are very, very different. We have a population of around 10,000. You, I gather, have a population here of about 30,000. So it's a little bit smaller.
Well, it was great to listen to him Monday. And the K kids from the K Club at Forest Elementary School presented a check of $435 to Turning Point, a nonprofit organization that serves as a resource center for persons who are homeless or have issues of impending homelessness. The kids raised these funds by securing pledges for the running in the Born Wareham Kiwanis Cinco de Mayo 5K in early May. And 3 people were arrested on drug charges following a raid in Wareham on Monday morning while investigating a home at 67 Jefferson Shores Road. We have John Lyons, who is 43 years old, Latoya Johnson, 34 years old, and Shauna Ramos, who's 38 years old. All were arrested on conspiracy, violating drug laws, possession of Class A drug with intent to distribute, and possession of a Class B drug with intent to distribute in the conspiracy to violate drug laws and operating after suspension of driver's license. And that's all for today's news. Stay with us. We'll be right back with more. Well, the New England Marine Life Center is a 501c3 organization and a hospital caring for marine wildlife. And here is a little bit about them. Discover the marine world at the National Marine Life Center. Located near the Cape Cod Canal at 120 Main Street in Bourne, the National Marine Life Center is a must-see destination. The nonprofit caters to stranded marine mammals or federally protected, and many of whom are endangered.
The animals don't come with health insurance, so every single dollar that comes through here, we have to raise it ourselves through grants, through special events.
Operating on a budget of an average of $450,000 and an army of dedicated volunteers.
I like to tell anybody who wants to come and work with the animals and thinks it's really, really glamorous, right? Well, you got to be able to do dishes and clean the floors and stuff like that.
Birthed in 1995, the hospital treats an average of 130 marine mammals per year.
So this is Tonks, and she is a harp seal. And she's actually a harp seal weanling, which means she was recently weaned from her mom. She's old enough to be on her own, so she's probably about a month and a half old. But first of all, she's in a place where she's not supposed to be. Most harp seals are born up in Canada, and she was found in southern Maine. And she was just not, like she was being tumbled in the water. She had some malnourishment and dehydration. She's really improved now. She still doesn't know how to eat on her own. So we're tube feeding her in the morning and night, and then we're doing fish school. We're putting some fish on strings and kind of trying to get her instinct kind of to kick in. And so she's getting fish schooled a couple times a day, and she's starting to learn how to eat on her own. I'm going to tell you a little intro in here because it's really loud next door, okay. But that way I can introduce the animals to you. So our hospital next door is where we take care of seals and sea turtles, like I mentioned earlier. And these are federally protected species. All the sea turtles that we take care of are endangered. The seals aren't endangered, but they're protected under the Federal Marine Mammal Protection Act. And that's because they have been hunted for so long that without this protection they would be in danger of becoming endangered. These are sea turtles of a species called Kemp's ridley, and it's the most endangered sea turtle in the world. And it's also the species of sea turtle that comes most often up here to Massachusetts.
These sea turtles are hatched in warm climate and begin a voyage to the Gulf Stream,
where they spend a couple years they're protected by all the seaweed, the sargassum, and then when they get a little bit older, they start to come closer to shore and swim around more and kind of leave the Gulf Stream and more actively swim around their environment. Well, if the Gulf Stream is up north, when these turtles are old enough to kind of leave it.
During the winter, as the turtles journey down south, some of them get trapped inside the arm of Cape Cod, ending up suffering from extreme hypothermia.
So most of them have pneumonia, some of them have broken bones, some of them have different kinds of infections, bacterial infections and viral infections and parasitic infections and you name it. These turtles are in really, really rough shape.
The treatment can span from months to years.
So our veterinarian makes up the orders, and then our animal care staff will prepare the charts for our volunteers to implement. Hi. So these are two gray seal weanlings. Hagrid on the right is a male. He's about 4 months old, 4 or 5 months old, and he came in malnourished, dehydrated with a lot of parasitic infections. Maxime, Madame Olympe Maxime on the left, you'll see she's got an eye injury, but if you can also see behind her head, there's, it looks like an indentation. That's actually, she was entangled in plastic when she was first rescued. She was actually rescued in New York. There is a seal hospital in New York called Riverhead Foundation. but they were running out of space, so they transferred her here so that we could complete her rehabilitation.
Depending on the patient's condition, the survival rate is anywhere between 60 to 75%.
Euthanasia is actually pretty rare here. The animals are so sick when they get to us that even despite all of our efforts, some animals will pass away naturally over the course of treatment.
So much can be learned from these mammals. Education and research that will bring us one step closer into understanding the largest body on Earth, the ocean.
They're really telling us what's going on in the ocean. So there's so much. The science is so interesting and so important. And it really all starts with taking care of that one individual animal and those 10 individual animals and gathering all the data that we can along the way, even as we're helping to try to help the individual getting as much information, as much data so that we can learn more about the ocean and what they're telling us.
The center runs a discovery center open to the public in addition to educational programs for all ages.
Every single day we've got these wonderful students from our local schools who come in and take care of the different animals. And then some of them, once they turn 18, they can come work with our bigger animals.
In the meantime, the hospital is overseeing an expansion that will allow the treatment of dolphins to baby whales in the future. Well, now we welcome Sally Morrison in the studio to talk about Unleash the Possibilities, celebrating the people and pet bond. Welcome.
Thanks.
So, this is all in combination of the dog park that we have that people do not know that we have.
Right, and that's the reason why the contest is running. So the dog park affiliation of Wareham is sponsoring Unleash the Possibilities art contest. And the best way to get people to know things is, from my experience, is through kids.
Sorry, 1 second. May we please go to a break?
Can you hear me?
Forgive us. We had a little technical difficulty, so now we can continue our discussion with Sally. Sally, I'm sorry. May you please tell us a little bit about the dog park that we have?
Yes, there is a dog park, and there's an association of people that are working to take the land that we have now, this almost 7 acres, and to raise funds and grant applications to do park design and for the park build. So to get information out to the community, from my experience, the best way to do that is through kids. So we are having the Unleash the Possibility Youth Art and Literary Contest celebrating the People Pet Bond. It's going on right now, and it runs till July 19th. So kids in the area, it's not just for Wareham, just like the dog park will not just be for Wareham residents. So it's area kids, it's also summer visitors, and if area families have a relative, a kiddo that they know, ooh, would like to do this or whatever, we're encouraging any and all participation in the contest. And it's for youths from age 5 to 18. And there's 3 different age groups
Okay.
that have 3 different prompt levels based on, their age. And there is the visual arts piece, which can be in any medium. Has to be 2-dimensional, so we can hang it up. And also a literary piece where kids could either enter poetry or an essay, or they have the option to enter both contests. And all the themes relate to the people-pet bond. It's not just about dogs. Though the 10-year-old to 14-year-old prompt, which is a little more sophisticated, is dog-related because it's from the dog's eye view. So it's dog's best day at the park or dog's dreams of going to the best park. So that's kind of in the wheelhouse for kids that age. For the younger kids, it's pet portraits, which is something as part of the art curriculum. And kids are working on portraits, including self-portraits, in kindergarten, first, second grade. So it's not something that is unusual. It's something that they've had instruction in. And for the literary piece, geared that's 5 to 9-year-olds, it's talk to us about your pet. So whether it's a story or in poem. And then for the older kids, it's and it can be a pet, or because older kids are involved in other things, it can be a domesticated animal. But like no cheetahs, if a zebra's your favorite, sorry, I mean, that just doesn't, I don't think anybody around here is a pet zebra. So it's more in that pet domesticated animal. And then for those kids, it is through art or through literature, their best quality, trait, or skill of that animal. So kind of elevating the challenge. And again, they can enter both. And any kids that enter are entered into a prize raffle. So we want to encourage as many submissions as possible. If anybody remembers back in the first 10 years of the Swan Festival, which is where this idea came from, that I had run the Swan Art Contest, and there were galleries downtown before the festival, because no matter how many banners and how many flyers, there would be somebody that the next day says, when's the Swan Festival? And you'd say, it was yesterday. So that was just another way to be redundant. And also the kids would be talking about it. And then the kids would be taking their families down to the festival, so that could expand our audience. So the submission form looks like this.
If you could zoom in. Okay.
So these submission forms are at both libraries, Spinney and Wareham Free. There's a box that's marked that they're in. They're also at TD Bank downtown. And they are also at the Onset Bay Association office. So that we're covering areas. And also the registration form is at the Y.
Okay.
Now the submission sites are both libraries, the OBA and the TD Bank. The submission site, the Y isn't a submission site, so that we can monitor it as things are coming in, and then we'll be collecting the art. So if people want, the forms went out through the kindergarten through middle school.
Okay.
But it was the end of the year, and having been part of that for 22 years, I've actually heard from people not all those forms got in backpacks and home.
Okay.
Because that's the nature of the beast. And also it's the end of the school year, so there isn't as much homework. There's not as much diligence over a backpack. And I know it's crazy times there at the time. So getting that word out so people who might not have gotten something in a backpack that they know, and announcements were made at the high school. But also the notices went out to other area schools as well, because again, it's not just a Wareham thing, and many Wareham kids don't necessarily attend Wareham public schools. So you can go there for information, or you can contact me at SAMMORRISON, so that's Sam Morrison run together, at Comcast.net, and I can set you up. The submissions will then be juried. This is a jury contest, so along with the prize raffle, there will be trophies for the winners. And the jurors, I'm happy to say most of these people are all from the Swan Festival. That's like 15 years ago.
Oh.
Everybody's still alive. Everybody's still in it. They remembered me, and they said yes. So it made it a lot easier. So Mary Nyman, very well known artist, writer, and she was a teacher in Wareham, and Marcia Hickey, the children's librarian, and Gretchen Pine, a force of her own, an author, they are judging the literary piece. And then Anthe Frangiotis, who is an artist and architect, and was a previous judge as well. John Cardinal, who is an illustrator for books and also card design and many different things in the arts area, and has worked with kids. All these people have kids experience. Is one of the visual arts judge, as well as Terry Cole, who was the illustrator for all the books for Gretchen Pine after her first book, Lulu and the Rose-Colored Glasses. And she is an artist and book illustrator that's out of the Plymouth area. So they will judge, and then after they're judged, they will go up in galleries downtown at TD Bank and at the Wareham Post Office. And the Wareham Post Office was one of the Swan Festival sites, and the people there are of the age like me. They were like, is this like this? So they're excited to have kids' art back up in the post office.
So this is going to be a fundraiser, right? Or
Not
no?
really. The main purpose of this, because it's all free. The kids are entering for free.
Mm-hmm.
Kids enter have the chance to get something for free, plus that their artwork is shown. The submissions they enter will become part of what we have, like we used to do in the Swan Festival, because when we get donations, from my past experience, not just your usual thank you letter, if there's something in there that was something that a kid made, really makes people happy. So that's what that'll be used, and some pieces might actually be used in auctions later down the line. So, and that's listed on the application form, so people are aware of, once they enter. Plus, they're from all over the place, so to get them back to people would also be a tad bit crazy. The celebration of the kids' contest and pets is August 2nd, and TD Bank is hosting it from 4:30 to 5:30. And any kids can come if they didn't even enter into the contest, but because TD Bank will be having kids' activities, giveaways, and snacks. And they're the winners of both the contests and the raffle prizes will be announced. You don't have to be present that day. If you won, that's why your phone number is on the registration form, you will be called and to make arrangements for pickup.
What are some of the prizes that you have that you can tell us?
So, and I can add before I forget, because this is an important thing, because it is about spreading awareness. If people go to www.warehamdogpark.org and the upcoming events, the flyer that's about is listed with everything I've been blah, blah, blahing about. And at the end of this week, the first batch of prizes will be also listed there, and then we will update them. So the prizes are primarily things they're all for kids. So it's ticket admissions, and it's pizzas, it's ice cream. You had mentioned the Marine Center. They are giving and memberships. There's
Yeah.
memberships for the Y. There's memberships for the Marine Center, and they're also making a swag bag. So there's different places. Most of them will be tickets, gift certificates, which makes life a little bit easier. But some of them will be 3D chunky things. Because anything anybody wants to give, I will gladly take. So if people go up on the website, they'll see the list of what raffle ticket prices are, and then we will add to them. And I have to thank Scott Fischetti. He is sponsoring the trophies and certificates for the winners. So what I've been trying to do is to run this on $0 because we're not making any dollars. But more, my goal is for people not to say dog park, but to say dog park. It's not like a question. We know that there's something that's in process. And the United Way of Greater New Bedford, where I was there last night to get a mini grant, and a lot of the work to put this particular thing on was funded by the United Way grant. The dog park, the Depot people will be at the celebration and be giving updates and information, sort of like if anybody was at the Oyster Festival. And it'll be kind of run the same way. If anybody that comes wants to make a donation to the dog park that day, nobody's going to tell them no. I will be dealing with running the raffle, being like the Oprah for just 10 seconds. You're a winner, you're a winner, you're a winner. But there'll be a separate place for the dog park for people to find out what's happening. And we are soliciting people and their dogs who are interested in being members of the dog park, and that'll happen at that time. And the dog park itself will mainly, it's with a lot of incidents that have been happening with dogs, the dog park will be a safe, secure place for people and dogs to be off leash. So if people want their dogs to be off leash, this is a place where they can go. And in this, it's actually 7 acres, so there'll be a dog park, which will be 2 acres plus. But if people want to go, the dog park will be first, but the other acres will eventually be developed. And people can go there, and if they don't want to deal with dogs, the whole area where the dogs are is enclosed.
Okay.
And so...
Where are we at with the dog park fundraiser? Last time I brought you in, there was a certain fundraiser, so to raise a few amount of dollars.
The fundraisers that they have done is that money was, and I offhand them was maybe about, because I was selling pooch treats at the, so I know how much, I'd say it was between $400 and $500 between the magnets and the pooch treats and the old T-shirts, and someone handmade leashes for us. Not the profit, because it cost $100 to
have the event.
No, yes, to get a booth.
Okay.
Which
you had a booth at the Oyster Festival.
Yeah.
Okay.
So after everything was paid off, that's not my end. So I can't tell you the exact number, but it was around 400. And then I can tell you, because I was part of it, we also did the triathlon, and that was $350.
Okay.
And
what was the goal again when you came in? What was the void?
What we need total?
Yes.
What we need to raise is $10,000. We have a sizable donation that is coming in that we can't legally talk about.
Okay.
Which is like sizable. Okay. It's not the full 10 grand, but it would be like woohoo. And
don't forget this. What is this about?
Because people aren't aware, we also, which the United Way grant helped us do, these particular yard signs, when the galleries are up, this will be in front of TD Bank and the post office.
Okay, to just remind people about this event.
That where they can go, because I don't have an exact date, because every judge, that's 6 judges, that all the work has to go through. My goal is like up by the week after July 19th.
Okay.
And also there will be a banner that's going up at the dog park,
Yes.
which that's the banner, but on top will say future home of.
Okay.
So when people are getting on the highway for 25 north at exit 1, it'll be in their face. So that's like a high traffic area.
Okay.
So it makes it more concrete, because most people don't know there's even land.
All right.
So we have terra firma, and we are close to our the $10,000 will trigger us to be able to put in the application for $200,000 for the Stanton grant. And part of that will be awareness, and that's why Unleash the Possibilities. And I'm just looking forward to a collage of color, of kids' drawings of any medium, and poetry, and to get a little bit of color and life and traffic downtown as well.
Well, thank you so much, Sally, for coming in to update us about the dog park. And this sounds like a great event, and I cannot wait to see what the kids come up with.
No, I expect to see you there.
So that was Sally Morrison here to discuss about Unleash Possibilities. It is going to be, well, a public awareness of some sort, not a fundraiser, but just to let people of Wareham know that we have a dog park. And everybody's doing everything they can to make sure that the dog park comes to full fruition one day. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with Today in History. Well, hello, and thank you for being here this morning. We are broadcasting live from our WCTV studio. This is Good Morning Wareham, your source for local news, traffic information, weather, and extra juicy information. And now, for a moment in history, let's take a look at where we were today in history. If you remember our history facts from Monday, the Soviet Union blockaded routes into and out of West Berlin. On this day in history, in 1948, the U.S. and Britain began the Berlin airlift, sending planes to drop food, water, clothing, and medicine to those in West Berlin who were essentially trapped. This continued for almost a year until the Soviets lifted the blockade in May 1949. And also today in 1541, Pizarro, the conquistador who killed the Incas and became governor of Peru, was assassinated by Spanish rivals. Pizarro had promised a man named Almagro land and riches after he had taken the land from the Incas, but he fell short on his promises. Almagro tried to attack Pizarro but ended up being killed. Then 3 years later, a group hired by friends of Almagro managed to infiltrate Pizarro's palace and kill him, leaving Almagro's son the new governor of Peru. And also for today's birthday, we are celebrating the oldest resident in Wareham, Mary Rose, who lives in Onset. She was born in 1914. She can remember when her father owned a candy shop in Onset before the Great Depression, and after when her father went to work on the cranberry bogs. She is the oldest of 7 children. Her parents were Cape Verdean immigrants. Mary has this advice for the young ones, and that is stay in contact with your families and visit your elders, and make sure that each hour counts. And that's all for today in history. To learn more cool historical facts, please go online under history.com. Stay with us. We'll be right back. The coffee segment is next. But first, let's take a look at our events calendar. Welcome back. Good morning, Wareham. This is the coffee segment, and we are broadcasting live from our WCTV studio at 505 Main Street. With me is Bob Politis, here to discuss about the Friends of the Wareham Veterans Council. Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning. So we kind of started this discussion last
Couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. Okay. So today I was thinking a brief, what should we call it? Summarization.
Overview, yeah.
And then we can talk about cool projects, because you said there are things that the Friends have done, but a person like I would not know, like, oh, they did that.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
let's do that.
Okay.
Okay. So let's start with, who are the Friends?
The Friends genesis was 2016, 17, when the moving wall was instigated to come to town, and the Friends were organized to help and participate in fundraising activities for that, and continue on into future
Yes.
activities, which the Friends have done. They've always supported the Memorial Day events with collations. They've supported Veterans Day.
There was Flag Day recently.
Flag Day recently.
Yes.
We participated, I think it was Friday before last, in the Elks Hall for their Flag Day celebration, and then that Saturday morning outside on the lawn, and where they went through the ritual of the history of the flags. And we've also participated and funded and replaced flags throughout the town, at the cemeteries, the schools, all the memorials inside the town, inside the school hall, outside the auditorium. There's flags of U.S. town, and we didn't have a POW flag, so there's now one there that they put up on the brick wall. So that shows, when we've helped with flags at all the fire stations, the police stations, the different cemeteries in the public buildings. We've participated in putting in 4 or 5 POW MIA empty chairs for display at the Elks, the town hall, the JROTC at the high school, the
I remember there
Legion
was
Hall.
a parade. This was like, maybe, is it 2 or 3 years ago we had a Veterans Parade?
Boy, I think there was, and that's when, was that Steve Baptiste might have been the Grand Marshal, I think?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that's the last time.
I've always been curious. I mean, are we going to have another parade? Would that fall under your role?
It takes a lot of effort, and before I comment on that, what I'd like to say is, we had Memorial Day. We went around to 9 places. The public participation was scarce. No public officials came. They had Flag Day at the Elks last week, and there was no public officials. So my feeling is, and my belief, it's people, there's so much opportunity to watch things like Normandy on TV, or Memorial Day and Veterans Day programs on TV, that the people see it on TV, so they don't come out to the individual town community activities for parades or rifle salutes and Memorial Day and Veterans Day. So that's just going to be the way it is, I guess.
You're also a veteran, right? So you talk a lot with your fellow veterans in Wareham, and what are their concerns? Do they share the same concerns as you, that the town, maybe the locals may not be?
There's a apathy about it, and even trying to get veterans to join the VFW, the Legion, the DAV, or whatever. They just, it's not happening. But some of the things we're trying to do to promote it is, we did the monument, and we're still going to be involved in putting electric lights down there. I'm trying to get an organization, a group together for to put 5 units of veterans housing on the American Legion property. There would be 3 duplex buildings. 2 buildings would have 2 units, similar to what we're doing down at the Housing Authority. And the other 3rd building would have 1 unit in a community room attached to it, which would have kitchen cabinets, stove, oven, so that we could host events for nights of hospitality, feeding in the winter, to take the burden off some of the churches that we've been talking to. The housing will be strictly for veterans, preferably disabled, 1 or 2 people, and I'm figuring we can do that for about $1.3 million. There's plenty of money around from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, National Housing and Urban Development, the state communities and housing, the state Veteran Services, Mass Office of Tourism, DAV. Then you can get money from the community preservation, and also I talked to the predecessor to the Redevelopment Authority, the what is it? Wareham Community Economic Development Authority. They could put in this. They could put in the. Can't pay for the buildings, but they can put in the infrastructure like sewerage and water and all that stuff for us. So that's why I'm figuring we could add 5 units and plus a community room for $1.3 million, and that's, to me, is a good buy. So we want to do that. And this year is the 100th anniversary of the American Legion, and I'm working on trying to have a recognition of the 100th anniversary and have the national premiere of introducing Legion Lager or Legion Ale with the cans that say 100th anniversary, American Legion.
You will have people.
Legion Ale, and we'll give out free samples of Legion Ale.
You don't say.
Yeah, so we'll have a party there. So,
people will show up.
Yeah. So
I think we have to like justify the ways we can lure people in.
Yeah. Well, a free
we
beer
have
will
to.
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got pretzels,
Yes.
crackers and cheese, and free beer. So those are the things you gotta think outside the box and try to create activity. And I think the housing is a good opportunity. There's a need for it, and there's a need to do things for the veterans, just like we do with Wreaths Across America in December down at the National Cemetery.
How about in the educational sense, reaching out, such as to the young children, to educate them about the local veterans, so to take care of the apathies?
That's one of the things we do. We work with the schools, and we have scholarships for financial assistance or financial aid for kids that might be going from the high school on into college and signing up as members of the ROTC at college, kids that sign up and go from high school into the service. We work with the American Legion has a program for every summer, 1 week, all expense paid, overnight at Stonehill College for 400 or 500 boys across the state, 400 or 500 girls across the state. They go there separately. They teach them for a whole week on community spirit, patriotism, Constitution. They were only, a few years ago, they were only sending 1 kid out of Wareham. Now they send 4, 2 boys and 2 girls. That we get involved in promoting that. But again, we reach out to a lot of people to raise money for that. It's hard to do it.
We have the Mass Maritime.
The Mass Maritime.
I know it's located in Buzzards Bay.
Yeah.
The boundary lines are very iffy there. But do they work with you, or do you work with them?
They work with the council. They got a member on the council as an auxiliary member. They were prime participant at the Flag Day celebration. They had a whole cadre of them, and they came in with
to do the colors.
Flag poles
yes.
with all the different flags throughout the history of this country, and each one came and as they were announced and read the history of that flag, they came and presented it, and then they did the fold of the flag. So they worked them in. The Elks are a great organization. They have a military component that supports. What do you call it? They have a committee, a military committee. There's good guys involved in that. I went to the first summer fish fry a couple of weeks ago. Once a month they have a fish fry that takes care of all the veterans in town. They will come for free. They bus 25 in from the Brockton Hospital, Kendrick House. They all get fed, and they just do a great job of raising funds and supporting vets and veterans activities.
Okay.
And bringing recognition to battles, memorials, things that veterans did and have done, just like they did for the 75th anniversary over in Normandy.
Yes.
And we get a lot of, when we were raising money for the wall and for the monument,
And that was a big event.
They-
In Wareham, we've never had such.
yeah.
That event took muscle physically
Right.
and
Yeah.
monetary.
Sweat.
Yes.
Sweat equity. I mean, Mike Ward, who is an elk, he actually broke bones down in at the memorial doing work, putting it up, and they're a great
If
organization.
people
we work
turned
with
out,
them.
that event.
It was pouring rain, and we had 150 people
We
there.
did.
Yeah.
3 days, right? It was for 3 days, the ceremony, right?
Yeah.
Reading of the names and so forth.
Yeah.
But I remember it was well orchestrated, and of course we were there to tape the whole thing, but I was at awe. People came.
Yeah.
And even the last day, the ceremony went very smoothly.
Yeah.
And I felt like the whole community.
It was bring tears to your eyes, and we had the grand marshals that were representatives from World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and so they all drove up in sheriff cruisers with their lights flashing, and the event didn't start until we introduced them and brought them in. Now, one of those gentlemen, Brad Holmes, we did a ceremony in Town Hall, I think probably 2 years ago, where he got his late POW MIA medal and ribbon for having been a POW MIA in World War II. And now, just the other day, I got a call from Congressman Keating's office, and he is also going to be receiving a Silver Star for valor and heroism in World War II. And I'm working with them. We're going to try to have an event in July or August in Town Hall and bring people together. We'll have a collation. This guy's a real hero for the town of Wareham. And
So-
I don't know how old he must
Yeah.
be. And John Fearing is another guy. I met him at the Historical Society the other night. He's 94 years old. So I'm going to have him participate and introduce Brad Holmes and do all that stuff.
So
when
what
we
are
do
the
that.
upcoming fundraisers? We have about 4 minutes, but what are the upcoming fundraisers that you need the community to be aware of?
Well, we don't have any fundraisers. What we do is we try to raise funds when we have something going
okay.
on. Now, the funds for the housing, I'm going to try to get like those organizations
Yeah.
of American Legion, VFW, DAV, ELKS, HUD, DHCD, CPC, CDBG, and
Wareham.
Redevelopment Authority, which is the same as CDBG, and the U.S. Veterans. They've done this in Connecticut, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. Put veterans housing on American Legion property.
Yes.
So it's not like inventing the wheel. It's already been there. It's been done, and it's not a lot of money. $1.3 million for 5 units of housing for disabled vets. So that, and then in the 100th anniversary Legion Lager. That'll be.
What is this again? Remind us of the date.
It's going to be in August or September.
Oh my God, I can't wait
Yeah.
for that one.
We might have Oktoberfest.
Do not tease us.
Yeah, so we're working on that. I'm going to be down talking to the brewmaster soon.
Oh, are you talking to the one
Yes.
located at the?
Stone Path.
Yes.
They've been helping me. Yeah.
Yeah, very lovely gentleman.
Good people. Mike
Yes.
Schro. Yeah. Good
Oh.
guy. Good people. There's some good people out there. They want to work and help, but it's hard to get somebody moving. You need a cattle prod or something to poke people to get them to move. But
Have we removed all the flags already from the?
no, they
the
do
ones
that. They do that after Veterans Day.
after Veterans
Yeah.
Day. Okay.
Leave them up from Memorial Day to Veterans Day, and then
And do you need people for that?
well, the VFW handles that. They usually get scouts or kids from the school system to help out. The other thing they do is there's around town there's various boxes that the Boy Scouts have put up to take and retrieve worn and torn flags for their what do you call it when you decommission flags. So not to be destroyed, and don't leave them waving when they're all torn and tattered.
Okay.
We go around and we remind people, and we'll replace the flags. We put 3 flags at the memorial, and we're replacing flags around town when we see them. We went to one of the cemeteries on Memorial Day, and we get to the flagpole, and guess what? No flag. So I talk to the people, and they know Memorial Day's coming. Put the flags up, you know. So we work with the municipal the maintenance who said they'd help out and put the flag up, because you need a bucket. You can't get, some of these poles are too hard to take down.
So I am inviting you back next Wednesday, and we'll be discussing the housing unit, the veterans housing unit. The one at the housing authority.
That's senior housing.
Senior housing,
Yeah.
okay, at the Wareham Housing
Sure,
Authority.
that's 4 units at
Okay.
Agawam.
And that was a big win for you guys.
Oh, super win, super win. It took years, but it takes a long time to get to penetrate sometimes. It's like WD-40, you know?
Yeah, you finally.
It takes a while to penetrate, so you can turn that nut.
Well, thank you so much for being
Thank
here
you.
this morning.
My pleasure.
Bob. And yeah, thank you. Hopefully you had a cup of tea. We didn't lure you
Yeah.
in too early.
I'll go out. I'll go down the diner for something.
Very nice. Well, to my viewers, thank you for joining us. My guest was Bob Paulides, the chairman of the Friends of the Wareham Veterans Council, here to talk about the Friends of the Wareham Veterans Council. He is going to return next Wednesday, hopefully, and we're going to discuss about the housing project that's going to be taking place at the Wareham Housing Authority, senior housing. And with that, I say this episode will be rebroadcasted at 6 this evening if you missed us this morning, and it also will re-air on our YouTube, Wareham YouTube channel. With that, bye-bye, Wareham. Bye.